contrary to what we usually suggest, we need you to go through the SE module at least twice before you watch this video. Otherwise, the discussion on questions will not make sense. We will not take grammar in this video because we've already discussed it in detail in the module. What we will talk about is our thoughts about the SE section and our thought process when we are solving an SE question. So let's jump in. Well, if I am able to impart this one principle to you, I would consider that I have done my job. It's all relative. Why? Because sentence correction is a misnomer. It's not correction, it is sentence comprehension and selection. Sentence correction implies that we need to find the correct sentence. If only it were that simple. What really is correct? Yes, we have certain black and white rules such as singular subject takes singular verb, but most of the so-called rules are guidelines at best. We can eliminate options based on the black and white rules, but then there is little else that we can do. What we need to do is that we need to find the best available option. Look, let me explain this a little more in detail. Language is dynamic, right? It's ever changing. So new words keep getting added, old words will lose their significance, some slangs will become acceptable, foreign words will get integrated, some previously unacceptable phrases find their way into leading publications and become acceptable, then some formal usage becomes obsolete, and so on. So to that, add the specific complication of English. It is a language used across the globe. Now, each region has developed its own flavor, and we grow up speaking English the way it is spoken in our region. Then how can a standard test measure our English proficiency? How can it establish what is correct? What is correct in my region may not be so in your region. The purpose of language is to communicate the message without ambiguity, and that can be done in many ways. So then here is what the test does. It focuses on formal business English, something that is mostly consistent across the globe. Now, what are the characteristics of business English? It should be clear, concise, and precise, which means no ambiguity, no redundancy, and to the point. It should convey the intent of the speaker unambiguously. It should use words efficiently, not in an indirect, roundabout way of communicating. And the phrasing should be universally acceptable, something that most people will find correct. Now, debatable usage should be avoided as far as possible. In fact, official GMAT questions that were active, say 20 years ago, may not reflect what GMAT finds acceptable today. We will give utmost importance to clarity and logic. That is what we need to keep in mind while solving sentence correction questions. So this is how we will proceed for each sentence correction question. First, we will find the intent of the sentence, the essence of what it wishes to communicate. Then second, we will deconstruct the sentence. We'll identify the relevant parts of the structure of the sentence. First of all, the subject, of course, then the corresponding verb. In case there are more than one clauses, then subjects and their corresponding verbs. We'll find the modifiers and their antecedents, etc. So we'll break down the sentence into its parts. Then third, from the given options, we will identify the one that does the best job of conveying the message that we wish to convey. And of course, that will be the trickiest part. But in case we do our job properly in step 1 and step 2, then step 3 will not be that difficult. Look, it's all about familiarity. When you practice 100 official questions, you start seeing a pattern. There are constructs that GMAT favors over others. And we have pointed those out for you in our module as well. Now we look at some examples and I will discuss how I approach them. Ensure that you've gone through the entire SC module at least 2 times very properly before joining me in the following analysis. Otherwise, you won't benefit to the maximum extent possible. Let's look at example 1. Many economists believe that a high rate of business expenses in the world today is a result of technology freeze. That in the last decade, technology has not improved much, which stagnated the business processes and increasing the cost of doing business. So what is the intent of the author? What does he intend to tell us, we'll just write down the basic structure of the sentence first of all. So I say many economists, we'll just write E, believe, okay, believe that a high rate of business expenses in the world today, I'll write this as A, that A is a result of technology freeze. So let me write this as F. So A is a result of F. Then there is a hyphen. So a hyphen separates the rest of the sentence from the first sentence. They're not interlinked. The hyphen, it's a parenthetical expression that we get after a hyphen. So whatever comes over here will tell us a little more about the main clause, but grammatically, then they're not connected, right? It's a parenthetical expression. We can pretty much just get rid of it and the sentence will not suffer. All right. Now, in the parenthetical expression, we have that in the last decade, technology has not improved much. What is this technology has not improved much? This is what technology freezes, right? So this is the explanation of F. It tells us what F is. So we have explanation of F, which stagnated the business processes. So now we have two consequences of F. What are the consequences of technology freeze? One is stagnated, etc. And the other is increasing the cost. Okay. So then we have these two consequences which are equal elements in the sentence. They are both consequences of the technology freeze. And that is the reason why they should be in parallel. Now look at this, increasing the cost of doing business. Here, increasing basically is using present participle. So that is why stagnated is incorrect. We should use stagnating as well. We need to use the present participle to maintain parallelism because these two are in parallel. All right. Another issue that I see that in this sentence is that in the last decade, that doesn't have a referent at all. Look, it is possible for us to say many economists believe that A is a result of F and let's say F is a result of C. Right? That is possible. But then we need an and over here if the two are interrelated. As I said, because of the hyphen, the two cannot be a single grammatical structure. Right? I can't say many economists believe that A is a result of F, then hyphen that B is a result of C. That's not possible. Besides, then A is a result of F and B is a result of C would be two different things. They are not two different things over here. Here, this thing, the technology has not improved much. This is telling us what technology freezes. So that is why the use of that over here is incorrect. That is used in quite a few, in the option B also. So this is also not correct. Again, as we said, we need to use stagnating. So then stagnated is incorrect, stagnated is incorrect, and stagnated is incorrect. Here, stagnating and stagnating. So these are fine. All right. That in the now we look at each option one at a time to just root out all the errors that are there. And we'll talk about why the correct option is better than all the other options. We've understood what the intent of the sentence is. All right. That in the last decade, technology has not improved much, which stagnated. Now, which, the use of which is also not really good over here because which stands for the entire previous clause. In the last decade, technology has not improved much. But then we normally don't like to do that. And it's, one in some rare cases, fine, which can refer to the entire previous clause, but normally we don't like to do this. So then we'll avoid this also. So we have enough reasons to weed out A. That in the last decade, technology has not improved much so that the business process. Now, the use of so that is also not correct because it shows intention. But here, it's not an intention. The business process stagnate is not the intention of the technology freeze, right? It is a consequence. So that is why we'll not use so that also. And this also goes. Then in the last decade, technology has not improved much, from which the business processes stagnated. Now, from which doesn't make any sense. I mean, in this context, it is certainly wrong. So that is why we'll get rid of this also. Now, the last decade, that technology has not improved much, stagnating. Now, what does this that stand for? What does it refer to? Over here, it doesn't have any reference. So that is why we're not talking about some particular technology, right? That technology has not. Then it would be like, for example, in case we were talking about genetics, so that technology has not improved much. Fine, but then we're not talking about any particular technology over here, and that is why the use of that is not correct. In fact, the use of the last decade is also not correct because we have used present perfect has not improved. We have used present perfect over here. So let me give you a couple of examples. Let's say I say I was happy last decade. That makes sense. What does it mean, by the way? That currently 2023 is going on. This means that starting from, let's say, 2011 to 2020, the last decade was this, and I was happy last decade means in this time. Now, I have been happy in the last decade. Now, can I say I have been happy last decade? No, last decade talks about this particular time, right? I have been, when I'm using present perfect, then there is this now, the element of now, current, right? So I have been happy in the last decade means in the last 10 years. So starting from, let's say, 2014 or 13, whatever, till 2023, till now, this is what I'm talking about. So then here in the last decade means in the last 10 years. Your decade is the 10 years. So with the present perfect, I will not use last decade, I'll use in the last decade. So here, the last decade is also incorrect, so D also goes. Now E, in the last decade, technology has not improved much, stagnating the business process. So I like this. Stagnating is the present participle, and we have used the present participle increasing in the non-underlined part. So it all adds up. These are two equal elements. And anyway, we know that GMAT really likes to use present participle at the end of the clause with a comma to give us a consequence. And we do have a comma also over here. So it all adds up. Right. In the last decade, technology has not improved much. So this is an entire clause and it starts with a prepositional phrase in the last decade. Modifying prepositional phrase. Now, normally when we write a sentence like this, we do put a comma over here in the last decade, comma. Technology has not improved much, but then GMAT isn't really very particular about it, so we don't need to worry about it. So this sentence is correct and our answer is E.